I wanted to project myself forward to age 80 and say, okay, now I'm looking back on my life. I want to have minimized the number of regrets I have. And I knew that when I was 80, I was not going to regret having tried this. I was not going to regret having wanted, trying to participate in this thing called the internet that I thought was going to be a really big deal. I knew that if I failed, I wouldn't regret that. But I knew the one thing I might regret is not ever having tried. And I knew that that would haunt me every day. And so when I thought about it that way, it was an incredibly easy decision.
Imagine 10 years from now, what really is more painful? You failing at something that you at least went to try for, or you wondering what could have been because you never dared to try? Yeah, I think the answer is pretty obvious, but let me spell it out for you. If you haven't read the title, I think if you believe even for a second that this is not really a second, but for a second that you'll regret not doing something, then that is all you need. That's the only confirmation in life that you should do whatever you think you may regret. I think it's something that it's so obvious, it makes more sense, or it makes sense, but it's only as you get older you kind of realize the importance of this. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm like an unk and I have so much knowledge and wisdom, but I have a lot of things that I really wanted to do, and I don't like living my life with regrets, because even if you regret something, there's no point of ruminating and sitting on that for an extended period of time. I believe the only use of the past is to inform our future decisions. And if it's negatively affecting the present or negatively affecting my future decisions, then I don't need to think about it. That being said, there are things that I do wish that I had done differently or I had approached differently. But by far, the thing about the past and the thing that kind of bothers me the most and what I want to share with everyone is that I think the things that I regret the most are the things that I never actually out and did, right? There's people in my life who I perhaps don't talk to as much, or I'm not as close as friends, or maybe I just don't talk to them at all. And a lot of the reasons behind that, obviously, circumstances are circumstances, but a major reason why is that I failed to do something that I should have. It wasn't the fact that I did something that I shouldn't have done. There are situations from that, but I'd argue it's easier to come back from a mistake that you've done rather than to come back from something that you have never done to begin with, right? I think a lot of us, myself included, I feel like I'm the prime example, but we live in fear, right? We live in fear about what people will say. We live in fear about how people will judge us. We live in fear of how we are perceived in other people's eyes, because that in and of itself, not to go all philosophical on you guys, but we as humans, I believe, this is my personal theory, but I believe that our self perception is something that we hold a very high value at, right? And because of that, we limit ourselves mentally to the things that we actually are able to do, or the things that we think we're capable of doing. And we may not decide to go talk to this person that we may find interesting. We may not to decide to take a job that we think we may be underqualified for, because, we don't want to be perceived as, annoying, or perceived as cocky, or perceived as something, right? And because of that, we limit our true potential. And beyond that, I think limiting our true potential is already a terrible thing, I believe. Like, I think we're so much more capable than we actually are, right? And it's such a shame. It's such a shame. And I think this is like a whole video on its own, right? Like the capabilities of humans and how we are really just we're like it's hard to say. It's hard to say, but yeah, I think that's a whole nother video topic. But the important thing is not even limiting ourselves, but not necessarily doing the things that we should be doing just because we care so much about something that hasn't happened, right? It's so weird and so bizarre, but it's something that a lot of people, myself included, struggle with. It's I don't know. I'm kind of losing my train of thought, but in essence, what I'd like to say, and I'll probably wrap it up with this, is that the regrets that we have in life come mainly from the things that we don't do, right? And don't get me wrong, there are plenty of things I've done that I wish I did not do, right? But those things I feel like can be laughed about and can be served as a lesson to learn, right? Me not doing something is also a lesson to learn, but I feel like it's a more valuable lesson when I make a mistake and then I kind of adjust my course, right? Imagine you are in a ship and it's a stormy night, right? And you don't know where you're going, right? The way that you kind of find your bearings is that you set a direction, maybe 92 degrees to whatever side that is. I'm not going to try to guess that, but you set 92 degrees and you keep going and you realize, hey, I'm kind of off course, right? You don't just stop. You don't just say, oh, that was bad. I shouldn't have set a direction to begin with. No, you just adjust course. Then you'd be like, okay, maybe 92 is too much. Maybe we'll go 89 or maybe we'll go 85, right? And then you say, oh, hey, I'm kind of getting closer, but I can see the island in the distance. I can see it, right? But I'm still a little off course. So now let me make that adjustment. Now I'm more on course, right? But as the island comes into view and as you get closer to your goals or whatever, you start to realize, hey, I'm actually a little off. Let me adjust, right? And no one's going to, or most people, like the captain and like the crewmates, they're not going to get mad at you for adjusting your course. It's part of life. They expect that, right? And the people who don't expect that just are not people who you should really be surrounding yourself with, right? There's nothing wrong with picking a direction to go and realizing halfway through, hey, this may not be the direction for me, or hey, I need to kind of like shift, right? There's nothing wrong. That's how you learn, right? Babies don't come out of the womb being able to walk both legs and be able to like start breakdancing. And if that happened, then I I think we have other problems to be discussing, right? You have to learn, you have to fall, you have to kind of get those experience, right? And you can only get that experience if you actually decide to do the thing. And I think a lot of the regret comes from the fact that, oh, what if I'm wrong? But that's the whole point. You have to be wrong. I know it's similar to what I've talked about before, but I think it bears repeating. And I think it's honestly where a lot of the struggles, and at least in my life, come from, because I feel like, oh, hey, I don't want to do this thing because I don't want to fail. But I realize that I actually, when I don't do something that I said I'm going to do, not only am I lying to myself, which is honestly the worst feeling that you can probably have. Well, I don't know, maybe if your arm got chopped off, you probably feel pretty bad after that. But not only do you lie to yourself, but you rob yourself of that learning experience, because like if you there is no downside to failing, right? Like, let me repeat that. Like, there is literally no downside to failing, because you either, like, if you try to do something, right, you either succeed, which is good, or you fail, which is you learn from, and provided you learn from that experience, you just get better. So the next time you do it, you either get closer to succeeding or you fail again, but you fail in a different way such that you get closer to your end goal, right? It's like these videos, right? My first video was genuinely terrible. It was terrible. And this video is probably not the best, but provided that I say, hey, this is what went wrong, this is what went wrong, this is what went wrong, this kind of went a little bit better, then hey, now I get a bit closer. And now I don't A, regret that I didn't do it because I am actively doing it. And B, I'm closer to what I want to achieve, right? So, in essence, listen, if there's anything in life you feel like you will regret that you don't do, or you feel a little kind of tension between, just do it. Just do it. And it will be tough. No one's saying it's going to be easy. Nothing in life is easy. Nothing that is good, nothing that you would want, nothing that's worth getting is easy. But that in and of itself means that you're doing something right. And if you struggle, you fail, that's okay. It's part of life. It is part of life. Yeah, so we're just gonna ignore my attempts at French there and move on to the next video.